Hey guys, Slash the Hedgehog here. I've been really onto Pokemon stuff recently. If you haven't really noticed, um, sorry I haven't been active. By the way, a lot of stupid stuff in my life that I have to deal with, like school and work and all that. But it's worth it because I need money for college. But you know, just saying. Um, I've been really into Pokemon recently, and as I'm sure most of you know, X and Y was released about 2 weeks ago and I picked it up the day it was released. I didn't go to no midnight release. That would have just been stupid in my opinion, but that's okay. For all those of you who did, I admire your dedication. Um, anyway, so played it, beat it. It's really great. If you have the opportunity to play it, play it. 3DSs are kind of expensive, but you know, it's Pokemon. It's always worth it. But that's just my opinion. Um, And I noticed nobody's really done much with this yet. And I'm kind of primitive at top 10 things, so you're just gonna hear my opinion, you're gonna see my face and all the expressions and all that. So, um yeah, top 10 Pokemon from Kalos, straight out of X and Y. Uh Number 10 is Zygarde. Now, for those of you who haven't played, I mean, essentially, if you haven't played this game, don't watch the video because it's kind of a spoiler. But yeah, Zygarde. It's really interesting. The legendary theme kind of going on with X and Y is like life, death, and genetics, I guess. Because I noticed when I first battled Zygarde and when I captured it and used it in battle, that a lot of the markings on its body kind of represent or not represent resemble like DNA kind of stuff, like DNA, RNA, all that good stuff. Like you don't actually see like the twisty helix thing at all, but I mean you still see like patterns, like the octangular patterns across like the fan behind its head that look like um what we believe to be RNA molecules. So that's pretty cool. And Dragon and Ground is fairly unique. I mean, the only two that I can think of off the top of my head would be Vibrava and Flygon. But yeah, that's really it. I mean, I just thought Zygarde's pretty cool. And its ability is called Aura Break, which essentially makes Yveltal and Xerneas' ability useless, which is it actually reverses them, which is actually kind of funny if you ask me. But so like yeah, with Zygarde's Aura Break going up against the Xerneas wouldn't be as much of a pain because like since it is part dragon, it is weak to fairy type attacks. But and fairy and Xerneas' ability fairy aura, I believe is what it's called, and yeah, it would eventually it boosts its fairy type attacks and stuff. Um, Anyway, going up against Xerneas and its fairy type attacks wouldn't be all that bad because Aura Break reverses Fairy Aura, making it so that it decreases the power, which is just totally cool in my opinion. But yeah, there are a bunch of other Pokemon on this list that I used that I thought were just better than Zygarde, especially considering you have to wait until after you've beaten the Elite Four and you basically have your team established with that. Anyway, for number 9, Meowstic. Now, I didn't really see the appeal of Meowstic at first until I did a little research on it, and when I looked it up, I didn't realize that there was such a drastic difference between the male and the female forms, because you know whether you're a boy or a girl, your rival will have a Meowstic, and I think it's based on the gender of the trainer, is the gender of their Meowstic, but I played as a guy, obviously, so Serena, my rival, had a female Meowstic, and I saw it and I was like, oh, I guess all Meowsticks just look like that. And then I looked it up and I was like, whoa, male Meowstic looks so much cooler. I never actually got the chance to use a Meowstic because I already had a Psychic type on my team, um and it was just I mean, Meowstic's cool and all, but I looked at its stats and they're not exactly the best, like, combination-wise. And there are just so many other psychic types that kind of just overpower it, so it's like, yeah, it wasn't really worthwhile. Number 8 is Aegislash, which is probably weird because I'm not really a fan of Steel-type Pokemon, but Aegislash is just awesome, in my opinion. It's a sword with a freaking shield. Need I say more? Okay, I guess I have to. But yeah, its ability is no guard, which means all moves will hit, regardless of accuracy. Um, it gets access to Swords Dance and Automize, which gives you, I think it's +2 in speed. It's a steel type agility, essentially. Um, and then, like, Shadow Sneak and Iron Head, that's like the perfect set, like a sweeper set for it if you're thinking competitively. But I can feel like competitively in a world where there is no Excadrill, um is that not Zygarde, Aegislash is just gonna play the spin blocker role because it, ghost type blocks spinning because it's a normal type attack. But yeah, and mostly I just like Aegislash because it's cool. But the one thing about Aegislash that I thought was awesome, aside from all of that, was King's Shield. King's Shield is a move, as far as I'm aware, that is unique to only the Gen 6 Pokemon. The only two that I've seen use it are Aegislash and Chestnut. So, what King's Shield does, it's protect, so it has like +4, +6 priority, and so you use King's Shield, and if your opponent is trying to hit you with a physical attack, like a direct contact attack, like say Fire Punch, for instance, since that's probably something that everybody has tried to do with like the event Blaziken that's out there and everything, or Blaze Kick for a better choice of moves. Um, yeah, King's Shield, not only will it block that attack, but it drops the attacking Pokemon's attack stat by 2, which is pretty cool if you ask me, because that already gives Aegislash a huge advantage because it has a fairly decent defense stat. It's pretty bulky from what I've seen happen with it. Aegislash is used by one of the Elite Four members, the Steel type. I believe his name is Wilkstrom. Correct me on pronunciation, or whatever. Number 7 is Goodra. Goodra is essentially one of your original dragon types for the generation. It's a pure dragon type, but it has access to a lot of different moves that I've seen. I didn't find out about like Goomy, Sliggoo, and Goodra, that whole evolution line, until after I had already beaten the Elite Four, because the champion Diantha uses a Goodra, and I was like, well, how do you get a Goodra? So I looked it up, and I'm like, okay, so your first form is Goomy, and then your second form is Sliggoo, and then your final form is Goodra. I got a level 1 Japanese Goomy over Wonder Trade while I was joking, I was fooling around with that for a little while. I actually walked away with some pretty decent trades. So if you have the patience and you just do it like I did and roulette everything, if you don't like it, send it back. Or send it back out. If you like it, keep it, essentially, is what I did. And I actually chose not to keep the Goomy because you could catch Sliggoo at level 48 on the route before the 8th gym city, which I don't remember what it was called. But you could catch it on that route at 48, and if you could grind it up 2 levels while it was still raining, boom, instant Goodra. But Goodra has a nice specially defensive bulk, and has a decent special attack too. So I do competitive battling so-so. I mean, I'm not really good at it. I lose a lot if you haven't watched some of my other videos. But I could see Goodra playing like your special wall, max HP, max special defense, a little bit of investment in special attack, just so you can wall the living crap out of everything, just because. And it's a dragon type, so there aren't very many things that are strong against it, like dragon, fairy, and ice. That's basically it. And like there's the only thing that I see being a problem there would be like a physically oriented dragon, because it's at least 2 hits from Ice Beam to knock out Goodra from what I've seen. Because I used a Vaporeon in my X and Y run, and I taught it Ice Beam, and it took 2 hits to knock out the Goodra. So yeah. Number 6 is Gogoat. Gogoat is, from my standpoint, aside from the legendary version mascots and the starters, I feel like Gogoat would be Generation 6's real mascot, because when they announced that you could ride Pokemon, it was like, Gogoat, this is what you do. And it's like, and I remember my reaction to seeing a player riding on a Go-Go for the first time. I was like, what is this? I don't understand. And then I read up a little bit on it, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But I never did bother catching a Skidoo, even though I saw a couple. I never bothered to try and train one to get a Go-Go, and I never really bothered with the riding Pokemon, aside from riding the Rhyhorn and riding the Mamoswine as the in-game required. But otherwise, just, like, I thought the idea of Go-Goat was pretty cool, and if I do another X and Y run, if I decide to restart my Y version for whatever reason, or I pick up an X just for the hell of it, I might use a Go-Goat. I mean, why not? Number 5, I think. Yeah, number 5 is Pangaroo. Now, I saw Pancham, and I was like, boom, instant love. Because it's a panda. It's a fighting panda, and it's fucking awesome. I didn't realize that you needed to have a dark type in your party to get Pancham to evolve. So I was grinding the living crap out of this Pancham, and it got to level like 35, and like I read it was supposed to evolve at 32, and I was like, well, why the hell isn't my Pancham evolving? And so I Googled it, and Yahoo Answers told me you needed to have a dark type in your party, and I was like, oh, great. But I had caught an Absol beforehand, and I was like, you know what, I'll just grab that Absol, put it in my party, and evolve Pancham. And Pangaroo is freaking awesome. It gets access to the one thing that I see most off with, at least with the Pangaroo that I had, its main stab move was Power Up Punch. Now, my Pangaroo had Iron Fist as its ability, so it got a 1.2 bonus for Power Up Punch, plus a stab bonus, and I gave it a metronome, so every time I used Power Up Punch, it gained power, along with the attack boosts. Damn, I was one-shotting things left and right with that. But yeah, Pangaroo is just, like, awesome. I love him. I'm not really one for nicknaming Pokemon, and so, like, I couldn't, like, when I caught Pangaroo, it was like the Pancham, I couldn't think of a good nickname for it, so I was like, you know what, I'll just let him go with that nickname. I realized about halfway through my run that the only Pokemon I nicknamed was my starter, and that was kind of funny. But yeah, Pangaroo. If you get the chance, use it. It's awesome. Okay, number 4, Xerneas, the X mascot. I don't really know why I ranked Xerneas so high on this list. Probably just because it's one of the legendaries, even though I ranked Zygarde at number 10. I just find Xerneas more interesting than all these Pokemon. just the design, and since it was one of the it was like the two Pokemon that you saw with the first X and Y trailer, it was just like it's one of those things where it just had to be interesting. I never actually got the chance to use it. I'm not really willing to let my Yveltal go on the GTS to get a Xerneas. It's just not worth it in my opinion. Um, but if somebody were to say, "Hey, I'll trade you a Xerneas for like a Pancham or something," I'd be like, "Well, hell yeah!" But no one would want that trade. So, and nobody's giving away Xerneas on Wonder Trade. That's just ridiculous. But yeah, Fairy type legendary. I talked about Xerneas a little bit during Zygarde's little segment, which is kind of cheap, but its ability is called Fairy Aura, which gives, I think I'm not really sure what it is. It's either 1.2 or 1.5 bonus to Fairy type attacks on top of stab, so you're walking away with like 2.7 or 3.0 stat bonus on Fairy type attacks, which is essentially like one-shotting any Dragon type or any Dark type or whatever. But yeah, Xerneas is okay. The next two slots are actually no, two of the next three slots are actually a tie. Number 3 is a tie between Tyrantrum and Aurorus, the two fossil Pokemon. I picked Tyrantrum, or I picked Tyrant for the fossil in game, but when I used it, and it was great. I love Dragon type Pokemon. If it really hasn't been noticeable from like just this list, there's 3 Dragon types on here. So, and I've made it pretty obvious before that I really like Dragon type Pokemon, just because I've liked dragons since I was a little kid. But it's like I used Tyrantrum and it was great. It was awesome. My Tyrantrum, once it evolved, just kind of broke everything that it walked into. Anything that didn't resist its attacks or was dealt super effective damage by either of its primary stab moves were literally just destroyed. Because Rock Tomb and Dragon Claw. That's all I have to say. I gave it Hone Claws too, just for giggles, because Tyrant is actually pretty weak. I mean, for a fossil type Pokemon, it's out there. I mean, it doesn't outclass the starters or anything, like the middle form of the starters. But yeah, it's just really, really cool. And then a friend of mine picked I don't know how to pronounce its base form, but the base form of Aurorus, and I saw the champion who used both Tyrantrum and Aurorus, and I was like, you know what, I want to use one of these. So I messaged my friend and I said, hey, can you trade me an Aurorus? And he's like, yeah, just make sure you breed me one in return. And I was like, okay. And so he traded me one. I traded him like some pointless Pokemon. I think it was like a Frufrau or a Klefki or something. And that was it. And I got an Aurorus and I used it. I used it in a battle the other day, like a battle against my one friend. Not the same friend who traded it to me, but a different friend. And yeah, it didn't really work all that well. It has some decent special bulk, which is okay. And like I gave it Ancient Power, and the fact that I used Ancient Power against a Charizard was probably the reason it did so much damage. But it still didn't take it out in one hit when I feel like it probably should have. Because, I mean, granted Ancient Power only has 60 power, but I mean, let's admit it here, Charizard has some pretty shitty special defense. I mean, I've used Charizard since, oh my god, I've used Charizard since Generation 1. I mean, granted, my Charizard was always fast enough to destroy anything in its path, but, yeah, when your Charizard isn't outspeeding or isn't one-shotting everything, it's like, and you're going up against a rock type, you're basically screwed. Because like, going up against a player using a rock type, because the AIs are just retarded. But, yeah, like, I really feel like my Aurora should have fainted his Charizard with Ancient Power, but, you know, I don't really care, because it's still pretty cool. I really like it. Number 2 is Yveltal, which is Xerneas' counterpart, the Y. I forgot to mention that in Kalos lore, Xerneas represents life, and I just realized that because Yveltal represents death. And based on its signature attack, which is called Oblivion Wing, which is actually really cool. It's a fighting type. No, not fighting. Flying. It's a flying type. It's a move. It's a special attack, and I think you walk away with like 65% of the It's like Giga Drain, only it's a flying type stab, and you walk away with 65% of the HP that you took from your opponent instead of 50%, which is really cool. And if you can imagine like putting a big root on that, you're probably walking with 70-75% damage, which is just awesome. At least I think that's how a big root works. I'm not sure if it's or if it's involved with like leech seed and stuff, or ingrain. I don't really know, but at least that's how I think it works. Correct me if I'm wrong. Put it down in the comments. Let me know. But yeah, I waited so long to use Yveltal, and what really sucked was all my Pokemon were at level like 60 when I got to catching Yveltal, which kind of sucked because I wanted to use it, but then I already had a flying type, and established I already had a dark type, and Yveltal, I mean, at level 50, yeah, it's a legendary Pokemon, but I mean, it wasn't really worth it to me to replace Yveltal with either of those, to replace either of those two Pokemon with Yveltal. And with me, I don't really like having double types on my teams, so I would have had to replace both of them, except for the fact that I used a Charizard and a Pidgeot on the same team. But that's okay. And I used Delphox and Charizard too, so I'm totally a hypocrite with X and Y, but normally when I do playthroughs, I try to diversify my team as much as possible, just because the better type coverage you have, the better off you are through the end of the game. For number 1, number 1 is a tie like number 3. It's between Delphox and Greninja. Delphox, Fennekin's final form, and Fennekin's the one that I chose. Delphox was really cool. As a Braixen, it was really annoying for a while to train it because it didn't get stabbed for Psybeam, which kind of sucked. And it didn't get a good fire type attack until like level 30 or 35. So here I am sitting in like level 28, 29 with Ember, which doesn't get that much bonus for stab because it's only got like base like 35 power. And Psybeam, which isn't stab, so it's not like one-shotting like fighting type or poison types, which was just a real bummer. And the fact that I spent a majority of the time between towns grinding my Pancham, Braixen kind of just got the back burner and stuff. But then the friend that I battled with, Aurorus, picked Froakie. Now he's a big League of Legends player, so he nicknamed his Froakie Froggen after the champ Froggen, which I don't mind because honestly it was my suggestion for him to do it. It's like I told him if you pick Froakie, you should nickname it Froggen. He's like, I'm now picking Froakie, and that was that. But then I got a Froakie over the GTS, or not over GTS, over Wonder Trade. I walked away with like 4 of those. I was like, I don't understand why people were sending away their Froakies over the Wonder Trade, but I don't care. The one that I eventually ended up saving was a Japanese Froakie, which was modest-natured, which I thought was really cool. And so I just stuck it in my party and ran through the Elite Four a couple times and leveled it up a bunch. Plus, I needed the data for my Pokedex for Frogadier because I don't think I ever actually saw Frogadier. No, it was Froakie that I needed the data for. It was Froakie and whatever Chespin's evolved form is called. I don't even want to bother trying to pronounce it. So, but yeah, Delphox and Greninja are really, really cool. Chestnut doesn't even make the list. I'm sorry. Chespin had so much potential style-wise, But then when they showed the evolved form, I was like, I mean, I wasn't like all that upset by it because there was Pupitar and there's Shelgon who have similar shapes to whatever the armadillo thing is called, and I thought, okay, this could still come out really cool. But then I saw Chestnut, and I was like, yeah, that could have come out so much better than it did. But I really liked, of the three, honestly, I like Greninja best based on looks, but based on raw power and stats, I like Delphox better, and simply because I saw Fennekin and I'm like, I don't care how ugly this little thing gets, I'm picking Fennekin. Which is weird because I'm not really a fan of the fire-type starters since, like, Generation 2. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved Blaziken. I love Blaziken still, but I just like Trico and Mudkip and their final evolved forms better, just because it's just the way that I like to see it. But yeah, Typhlosion was really my last favorite fire type starter. It was like I've liked them all essentially. I didn't really like Tepig Gen 5, but that was basically everybody's opinion. So yeah, that covers it. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can expect hopefully 2 Let's Play parts for the Y2 Super Randomizer coming up later today or tomorrow or something like sometime soon. That's what I'll give you that. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed, etc., etc. Leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you guys later. Peace.